Today we're going to talk about batch message testing, which should actually always be your first step prior to sending a message to every single one of your clients in a particular business type or between specific dates. Now, some of you, if you started with Adam within the most recent few years, you probably have this business type batch message test that came preloaded with your software. Some of you who may have worked with us just within training or sending this message may already have this here. Some of you may not. So the first part of this video, we're actually going to go through how to set up a batch message test group, and then we're going to send a batch message test. So if you'd like to fast forward, you're more than welcome to. Okay, how to check whether or not you have this business type. I'm going to flip to another screen, and really what I did is admin, category types, business types, okay? So here you can see my batch message test. We usually, and when it comes preloaded, typically have this at the bottom of the list. That way it doesn't interfere with your daily activities or where you generally would like to be going. So often it's nice to throw that Z in front of there. You may see it here, or you may need to look at your show inactive records, so those that perhaps have been hidden, and to see whether or not you have a batch test or batch message business type. If you do not, we're going to walk you through how to create it. So you can see down here, I'm just going to do Z2 because I want this in the bottom section. So and I'm going to call this one example. I'm going to give it an abbreviation. I don't need anything else with this, and I'm just going to save it. So here you've got it. And there's a couple more steps just to make sure before you start putting some of your users, employees, or close family members inside of it. We're going to build out a very quick, tiny workflow for it. If you go to admin, category types, event status, office events. So you always, whenever you come to this page, it's always best practice to make sure to sort it. That way you're only looking at the workflow that needs to be addressed at this time. And here you can see I've pulled up the new one. If I pull up the old one, you can see that there are only two inside of here. I want to be able to see who's in that file or who's in that business type. And then let's say maybe I just complete somebody out. Maybe they've left. They no longer need to get those test messages. So it's very easy to build with a couple of notes on it. First, you just grab one that isn't already in use. This is also why you filter by business type. I typically like to go with these miscellaneous or down to the straight miscellaneous. So the event due dates, and I usually go in order. 1, you don't need a category type. If you'd like to put one in there, you certainly can. You're going to choose the business type that you're working on. In this case, it's the example that we just built. I'm going to name it. So this is where your users are going to be sitting. And again, your group. So I usually just call this batch test users. I typically organize these in 10s or larger, so 10. And then disable account field requirement error check. If I move somebody here, I certainly don't want to have to fill out anything about their account type. And then add uncreation of account. This is important because when I do add those user or tester files, which is what we use in our office, I certainly want to make sure they're immediately sitting in that status when I add that business type. And now I'm going to save. So I am going to flip screens very quickly just to show you a couple of things. The first thing is when I have this grouping, and the reason why I have this here is because I want to be able to quickly see their account receive date, as well as whether or not I've got an email, a cell phone, or a provider. Provider is a little bit older in terms of Adam programming. And I know that I've got an email for all these guys. And since I don't have a cell phone, I certainly wouldn't be testing an SMS text message for a batch with this grouping without adding that cell phone in there for them. Okay. But these columns are not typically a preset column for you to be able to see. So flipping back to my other tab when I'm building this, you want to be able to go to your column view permissions, which is this gear icon, and then turn on those two columns. So I'm going to turn on account receive date, and I'm also going to turn on the email cell phone provider, and I'm going to save in the top right corner. This opens that column view for me to be able to see that information in one go. Again, I don't want to have to dig through those files that are sitting there before I go to test them. If you do have seasonal staff, it's not a bad idea to grab your complete and just add it. That way you can move people to complete if you would need to. And again, just in case you were ever needing to build this out a little bit, I typically always go 100 or even larger, depending on what I'm building. Okay, so you have successfully built out your workflow that you would need. We're gonna flip tabs here. And if I come back to my home screen and get out of the original batch message test and go to the example, you can see I have that exact same setup with the columns that I need to see when adding somebody to it. Now, only because I already have this here, we're not going to use the example for the rest of this testing. I'm going to stay with my batch message test. Okay. So I have 4 people inside of here. Now there's one more thing to show you. How do you get your users inside of here? I'm sure most of you already know this, but I'm just going to come up to search. I'm going to find a user that we're not currently in my group. And so I'm grabbing Levi Tester. Now you can certainly go to the file and add a new account here, but you also have these quick hyperlinks from your search. So I'm going to add. My side drawer menu has popped out. I'm going to change the business type. So again, that example, if I were using that, we would do that when it's brand new, but I already have this. So I'm just going to add them to the batch message test group. 2024 is fine. I will just give him an account user. And here's that add-on creation of account, batch tester files. And I'm going to add that year. I'm now in his file. I can see that he's successfully added. If I go back to my home screen, I now have 5 users inside of this group, and I can verify that he also has this email. So if I'm testing an email to all of my clients, I'm going to use this group. So here are those columns in action, right? I can always see, oh, maybe I forgot to add it for Mike, or I forgot to add it. I could go into that file and make sure the email was in there. Account receive date. Now, this date is what tells Adam clients that were added between this date and such date, which is typically today. I want that message to go out to them. So when you click these, if you've never done this before, this will org them ascending or descending. And so I know that I need to use 11/19/2020 for me to get this message. If I were perhaps to use 12/21/2020, Johnny Tester and Dwan Tester would not get that message. They are not a part of the date range of the group that you want to send it to. So because I often create this batch test file grouping and almost never touch it except to add new people to it, these dates can get quite old. They're usually not, live each year. So this is also why I like to see this. I can quickly find how far back I need to go. Okay, so this is where those of you might be coming in. If you already have this grouping set up, we are going to send the batch test. Now your batch messages are in your admin in messaging and batch messages. With the latest update, this is what your batch message looks like now. It is much more concise in terms of sending a message to all of the clients sitting within a particular business type. If you were looking for advanced filters, we will have another video on that. They are over in the right-hand corner. And so the extras in terms of more filters, not just people in a certain business type for a particular day, but other options here, there will be another video to go over that. So in this instance, for sending this, we want anybody sitting in batch message test. So the first thing I always do is anybody from business type batch message test. So I know that off the bat. All of my sites are fine, and I'm going to be sending an email message. So here are those dates that I was just talking about, right? If I leave this at today, the only person who would get this message as I flip tabs would be Levi Tester. And that's because he was only added today. So the rest of the group would never get that message. So again, why you need that column, 11/19/2020. I'm going to flip back to this. So now I have the date in here that I need for my batch message test. And again, this is just going by email, so I do have a subject. So typically I would write my message exactly the way I'm going to have all of my clients get it. And again, this is because I want all of the users to be able to do that double check. You know, does this all come across the way we want it to? Make sure to check any of your links. Please check it on your phone, check it on your desktop computer. If it's a text message, you know, does everything look the way it needs to look? So a quick note about your testing group. It is a great idea to get as many people in here with diverse either emails, so some people might have Yahoo or Gmail, as well as phone types. So maybe those with an Android as opposed to an iPhone. It's just going to give you a better idea. You know, often iPhone, let's say you're going to test a text message, they are not going to break up your message if it's too long. Androids will often break up that message. So something that is one message for me when I get it on my iPhone, for someone else it could be two separate text messages. It's just a good idea to have as much diversity as possible when you're testing. Okay, end of note. So coming back here, when I have this all written out, and again, I have this exactly the way that I want my clients to get it, I double check email message here, and I've got my business type. Yep, looks good. So basically, you want to send and wait. So now this is a very small group. So my message sent successfully at the top left corner came very quickly. If you are sending this to thousands of clients, that may take longer, and you don't want to touch anything until that happens, until that message goes. If you refresh your page because maybe you think something happened and it was a mistake, or you hit send again, there is a strong possibility that that message could go out to more, or go out more than once. After I get the message that it's been done, I generally always go to my sent, and then I can see batch message test. Here's my client group, right? And that 5 people got it, that it was an email message. If I want to look at what was sent, here it is. And then I'm going to come back to my grouping. So again, flipping tabs. I've got 5 in here. I know all 5 got it. I then generally send a message to my staff. Hey guys, just sent a test message. Can you take a look at it? Let me know if you find anything odd inside of it. And then they just kind of get back to me. Yep, this looks good. Nope, this link didn't work for me. You know, it gives you that all important leeway of finding mistakes before it happens to go out to all of your clients at once. If I go into my file, so I can, of course, take a look at the emails that were sent. Here's this one from 2024. And of course, this went out. I would find it in my email. I would find it in my text message. So once you know that everything is fine, often what I do here, particularly if there's any formatting, again, you could copy it from your batch message. You could copy it from here. I usually do a Control-C and copy it. And then I come back to my regular message. I make the changes that I would need to make, backing up dates, backing up, you know, choosing again, and then sending this out to everybody from the business type that I might have been working with initially. So this is how you test your batch message. It is very important. I know many of you don't send these messages that often. You know, you may do it for an emergency. You may do it a couple of times a year during the holiday season or right before tax season. So we always are happy to talk to you by phone if you've done it before, or generally setting up a training to really go through some of this with you and help you through it. And again, it's just because it's going out to all of your clients. But it's a very easy way for you to be secure and confident on the messaging that is going out. All right, thanks so much. Have a great day.